This is the most chaotic, dangerous thing I have ever seen in my life. Like, how can Germany do this? This is so irresponsible. Hallo, ihr Lieben. I'm Jenna, and despite the Germans always questioning me why on earth I'd give up my perfect Canadian life for Germany, I'm still here with the family 11 years later, exploring the best and the worst of life in Germany today. Hey! Get out your costumes, we're gonna pick one. There's one German tradition that completely divides people. Yes. Either you love it or you hate it. And if you've never heard of it before, well then you're in for quite a shock, aren't you? Yes. Carnival. Carnival is a pretty crazy holiday here in Germany. Yes. But not everywhere in Germany. Yes. No, just in special areas, like where we live, in Düsseldorf, or our rival city, Köln, or even in Mainz. But honestly, my opinion has entirely changed over the course of the last 11 years. And we're going to talk about exactly why in this video today. Despite what most people might tell you about Karneval, that it's a tradition where people go into the city at 10 o'clock in the morning and drink beer non-stop, it actually does have a pretty long history. Traditionally, Karneval was actually about turning society upside down right before Lent. Mama. And this is where power structures, power people, were mocked and where authorities were challenged. So people dressed up, made fun of politics, the church, the elite. It was basically satire, rebellion, and release all in one. Sounds pretty magical, doesn't it? This is the idea that I went in with it when I first got started living here in Germany. The whole idea of it was pretty exciting, but not when I lived in Freiburg. I have a green one. So in Freiburg, it wasn't really that big of a celebration. It wasn't until Düsseldorf where I really learned the true spirit of Karneval. So why did it explode in Düsseldorf or in the Rhineland area then, and nowhere else? Well, there's a couple other areas in Germany that celebrate Karneval, but it exploded in the Rhineland area because of the French occupation. From the late 1700s to the early 1800s, the Rhineland was occupied by Napoleonic France, where locals were suddenly ruled by the outsiders. And then Karneval apparently became this way, this opportunity to mock the authorities without any punishment. So from what I know, and correct me if I'm wrong, right now, it's Düsseldorf, Köln, and Mainz that are the three biggest areas that celebrate Karneval. They're a little bit different from one another. I mean, I don't know the political difference between the three, to be honest. You can let me know in the comments below. But what I do know is that in Düsseldorf, we say, hello, as the floats go by, as we call for our candy or Kamelle. And here in Düsseldorf, people treat Karneval like a religion. It's like a week-long festival, mostly outdoors. People wear costumes and buy costumes for every single day of the week. I always just wear the same one costume. And in the south, like Bavaria, they call it Fasching. And I've never been there to celebrate actually on my own. So again, you guys can tell me more about what Fasching is like in the south of Germany. But I've heard that it's significantly less political. At first, I wasn't sure about the whole politics thing in Düsseldorf, but 11 years later, I think that's the one part that I actually enjoy about it. So Karneval actually begins, I think, all over Germany on November 11th at 11:11. But here's what I have to say about Karneval now. At the beginning, I did really enjoy the party aspect of it. Now, maybe it's because I have kids and I've been here 11 years in a row to experience it all. But the controversial floats by Jack Tilly in Düsseldorf are really like the only reason why I even go to the parade. Also, the kids really want the candy. But honestly, the other aspects of it, like the drinking 5 days in a row, all the different costumes, the insane amount of money and kitsch that goes into the celebration, I don't love anymore. I actually, 2 years, I tried to fly away so I could avoid it all. But what shocks me every time is that when there's a Canadian visiting me and they come to celebrate Carnival, I always think, oh, they're gonna think of it the way I thought of it my first time at Carnival. They're disgusted. They're absolutely disgusted. My mom, I actually had to book her flight a day before Rosenmontag last year because she hated it so much that she didn't want to be a part of it at all, and we were gonna go with the kids no matter what. I've been beckoned for a monster rally. A dino, uh-oh, I broke his leg. A dino rally. We'll have to continue this one tomorrow.
I can help.
Okay, we're back. Day 2. If you're watching this video, it's either because you have a very strong opinion about Karneval already, or you might be wondering about what it is and why people think it's either absolutely amazing or absolutely disgusting. So I want to jump into that now and dive into the mention that I made about my mother absolutely being disgusted by it, and why tons of actually expat parents also find Karneval to be an awful tradition. Of course, many people here in Germany, they can relate to it better, at least in the regions where it's celebrated. They might have fond memories of it in the past. When you come here and you don't know the history about the political floats, for example, I know my last post about Karneval, I'll pull it up here, it went crazy because people could not believe how disgusting these political floats were and how it made them feel. I think that's the one thing, is like these floats are all about the conversations that people are too scared to have in regards to politics. They're very controversial, but that's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to make you feel this way. But when I mentioned expat parents, it's because they show up and they're like, okay, I understand this political satire, but what I don't understand is that it's okay to bring kids to this Karneval, that there's kids dressed in the cutest costumes ever, and the float or the parade goes all throughout the city. And their immediate thought is like, these poor children are sitting here. Meanwhile, there's the queen giving birth to mutated babies right in front of them. There's blood, there's guns, there's everything on these floats. And then in between comes some nice magical ones where there's clowns dancing and throwing candy. I admit it is a bizarre combination, and I never thought about it when I gave birth to my children and started bringing them, because it was just tradition. That's just what you do in Germany. But if you think about it looking from the outside in, you might also understand, yeah, that is a bit strange. What do you think about that? How does that make you feel if you were to have children and you were coming to Germany for the first time and saw these political floats passing by? Pretty insane. Also, if you don't realize that Karneval is going on and you go into the cities with your families thinking like, oh, this is gonna be a nice family festival. I personally don't think that Karneval is very family friendly at all. There are some smaller ones like the Wedeszug, at least that's what it's called in Düsseldorf. I don't know if it's called something elsewhere, but these are like the neighborhood parades where the kids and the kitas come together and they're throwing out candy for all the neighborhood kids. These are very sweet. We have ones like hosted at like in the parks for the kids and such, but the major days of Karneval, at least in Düsseldorf, are insane. 11:11 at 11:11 at the Rathaus. Insane, packed with people, partying, super drunk. And then comes Karneval in February, and then you've got Donnerstag, which is Altweiber or Weiberfastnacht. And at least in Düsseldorf, we do it like the party begins again at 11:11. You go by cutting off all the men's ties. Most importantly, the mayor's tie. So there's a lot of ties destroyed in the making of this day. And then the party just begins. And then comes Friday. Sometimes life as usual. I find that very bizarre, but like people go back to work super hungover. I know my husband has gotten Fridays off as long as they take part in the carnival party the night before. So a lot of work events or work parties will happen on the Thursday, and then they'll give their employees the Friday off to recover from the party they had on Thursday. But if we want to escape from this all and go to Gran Canaria or something, that's not okay. Then he has to take the Friday off. So it's more about team spirit and everything. Woohoo! But like, I can't believe sometimes the major corporations host massive carnival parties for their employees to get absolutely wasted and do stupid stuff. Then on Saturday, as I mentioned, the Wedeszug, or at least like these Kinderkarneval celebrations, those often take place on the Saturday. And then there's a lot of other like unique events in the city and unique fun parties that are like very specific to different clubs. So we've also got the Tuntenlauf, which is like drag queen style runway show and super high heels. Again, everybody's partying, everybody's wasted. Sunday in Düsseldorf, we have our Karnevalssonntag an der Kuh, like on the Königsallee here. People set up tents all along the Königsallee and just drink and party and drink and dance and do stupid things. Then Monday comes Rosenmontag. This is where the political floats come in. Tuesday, I think it's nothing. Sometimes my friends still go out and party. And then Wednesday's Aschermittwoch. And this is when the carnival season, I call, ends and people go back to work. To be honest, I've never seen this, but I've heard that this is like when the Hoppedits, which is kind of like this, don't get mad at me if I say this wrong, it looks like kind of crazy weird clown, gets burnt in front of the public eye. This guy's like the symbol of Karneval. And then they bury him and he remains buried until the next Carnival season. I've never actually seen this. It could just be a myth. Have you actually seen this? Let me know. But overall, you might be asking yourself, why do you hate it now when you used to enjoy it quite a bit back then? There's two major reasons why I don't enjoy it. One, which my mother actually opened my eyes to, which was when she was here for the Rosenmontag parade with all the political floats and they were throwing out candy. She was like, this candy is junk. And she's right, like my kids don't eat half of it because it tastes like garbage. The gummy bears are always stale, the marshmallows taste disgusting. And then we come home, we have half of our candy that was fallen on the ground, and if it's raining, then like half of it's destroyed, especially this like Ahoy Brause. It drives me bonkers. It's like all over the bag, it's soaking wet, everything's sticky. You end up throwing out half of it and then we donate the other half, and then we put like their favorites in a drawer. It's too much. And like we do Santa Claus parades in Canada, so they also are throwing candy and stuff, but usually they're all like pre-packaged in, unfortunately, yes, plastic. But here it's just like the quality of the candy is so garbage that you don't even want to eat it. And then maybe because it's more sustainable, it's wrapped in paper and it gets destroyed. Not all of it's wrapped in paper, most of it's plastic, but the paper stuff destroys the rest of it. Then you have to wash all of this candy. And then at the end of the week, our city looks insane. It's a mess. Thankfully on Rosenmontag, the garbages follow the parade at the end and they clean everything up. This is like the most exciting thing for me. I sit on the curb until the end with my kids and we watch these like massive tubes just like suck everything out. But it's not everything, you know, it's not perfect afterwards. But the garbage guys come along and they smash all the beer bottles like while people are still there. There's still kids around and my mom's just like like this made her livid, and this is why she didn't come back, or she didn't want to stay again the following year for Rosenmontag, because she was like, this is the most chaotic, dangerous thing I have ever seen in my life. Like, how can Germany do this? This is so irresponsible. And then she's like, I want to go home. And then the last thing that I wanted to mention, the biggest reason why I'm like, no, Carnival is not for me, I don't want to have any part of it, is because, as we've mentioned before, Germans are like these very rule-abiding, independent people going about their day, typically in bigger cities, not looking at you or saying hello and only giving unsolicited advice when it's not wanted. Sounds really mean. Not all of you guys are like that, you know that, but this stereotype, right? This German stereotype, whatever. But really what makes me uncomfortable is like this week is an excuse for all Germans in this region to just go ape shit crazy. Like absolutely crazy. And then I hear from all of the Germans, what happens at Karneval stays at Karneval, which means you can do whatever you want. The amount of people who I've seen cheat on their wives or their husbands is disgusting. Mostly during these like corporate parties like I mentioned. And yes, maybe I'm not part of the corporate world. I'm freelance. I work from home. Maybe I'm bitter that I never got invited to one or something, but it is insane. It's like this is the only time of the year, except for Silvester, where the Germans can like let loose and be crazy, or you fly to Mallorca and you live up your Mallorca dream as a German there. But you guys are so responsible and so law-abiding and rule-abiding the whole year, and then it's like almost like something within you is like, I just have to like get out and be crazy once in a while. But like be crazy every day and just like be yourself every day, you know? Like it just frustrates me so much that people feel the need to just like unleash and go crazy because they're so uptight and closed in the rest of the year. Like it's almost a pity. It's super sad. Like if you feel the need to go this crazy once a year, like don't you think that you should be enjoying life the rest of the year too? And then maybe you wouldn't be doing crazy stuff at Karneval. Like the roads are just covered in vomit, and I have a really bad phobia of vomit, so this is also why I'm not so fond of Karneval or Silvester. Everywhere, and people of all ages. I mean, it's great. I love watching the fact that like moms and daughters are out partying together, like getting super drunk. It's so cute. But like the extensiveness of the drinking on Karneval is mind-boggling. I'm always so proud to be in Germany, and sometimes Karneval is like what makes me the most embarrassed. And when my mom responded to Karneval the way she did the one time she experienced, I was like, yeah, maybe I shouldn't be so proud about like bringing my friends and family over during Karneval. And now I tell them like wait until March to come and visit me because the weather's nicer and Karneval is just insane. And if you're not from around here, you're probably not going to be able to handle it. So is it worth it from an Ausländer perspective? I don't think so. I think there's many other ways that we could celebrate Karneval in more traditional ways than this absolute drunk fest and just destroying the entire city. The Straßenbahn, like all of those buses and streetcars and everything are shut down, and like traffic is crazy. Like it just is one week where like everything just turns into this shit show. I don't love it. So now I'm curious, if you have experienced Karneval in your lifetime before, what do you think? Do you love it or do you hate it, or somewhere in between? I would love to know your thoughts. I know I had a lot of maybe judgmental thoughts in this video, but it's one tradition here that I think could definitely be celebrated a little bit differently. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are. Vielen, vielen, vielen lieben Dank und wie immer, bis später.